In 1983, a prolific Philadelphian multi-instrumentalist session musician turned out one of the most iconic movie themes of the decade. I am talking about Michael Sembello. And from his 1983 album Bossa Nova Hotel, the track Cowboy.
Just a cow, just a cow, just a cowboy from the good, just a cowboy from the good side.
Already it's getting off to a good start. I love the high end vocals, like harmonized over this like descending bass piano figure, bum, bum, and then up, bum, bum, yeah.
Drinking whiskey and talking loud, roughneck riders, they were shooting up the town. A tall dark stranger, he made a stand.
I love how the piano keeps on adding like suspended thirds each time it lands on a new key center.
His gunman took the gun to his hand. Eyes on fire, he rose slowly from his chair. Walked outside and waved the danger in the air.
Some very crafty bass work.
7 bullets had the names of 7 men. When the smoke cleared, he's the only one to stand.
The kind of bass that is definitely in the pocket and meant to be just kind of felt, but you can kind of notice it at the same time. It's a bit more noticeable than typical bass work.
Just a cowboy from the good side. On a page that they left out of history. Just a cowboy from the good side.
Maybe it's the way that the bassist keeps throwing in like a second note each time, where a more conventional bassist would add like one, like laying on each tonic. He just throws in that second, you know.
And no one knew his name. He was the hero. Then it all went black. Out of nowhere, someone shot him in the back. But on windy nights, when the cactus blooms, you see his silhouette against the moon.
Something about that melodic arc that just really slays me. The progression.
Just a cowboy from the good side. On a page that they left out of history.
That piano's really busy too.
Just a cowboy from the good side. But no one knew his name.
Going into some boogie woogie there. Saloon piano.
Just a cowboy from the good side.
But then again, it's appropriate. We're singing about cowboys. Let's catch up with the lyrics. Just a cow, just a cow, just a cowboy from the good. That's quite a quite a hook right there. Saying just a cow, then they don't quite complete the word. Just a cow. Just a cowboy from the good side, drinking whiskey and talking loud. Roughneck riders, they were shooting up the town. A tall dark stranger, he made a stand, grabbed his gun, and took the law into his hand. Eyes on fire, he rose slowly from his chair, walked outside and weighed the danger in the air. 7 bullets had the names of 7 men. When the smoke cleared, he's the only one to stand. So we're talking about a real cowboy. For a minute, I thought this was going to be like about an urban cowboy, like not really a cowboy, but just like one of those saddleback riders who wears Western attire. Just a cowboy from the good side on a page that they left out of history. Just a cowboy from good side, and no one knew his name. Oh, so one of many just typical like Old West anti-heroes, but the kind who never really went down in folklore or like never went down to become one of the big names of the Old West.
On a page that they left out of history. Just a cowboy from the good side.
definitely, if I'm going to do banal simile and just spot the influences, I would say a cross between late period Doobie Brothers and Toto. Like I'm hearing elements of both. I'm hearing some of the piano figures. I recall off certain passages on the Minute by Minute album. Certain nuances like between the instruments and the vocals could be found on basically on quite a few of these West Coast AOR albums on which members of Toto were involved, or like some of the Lee Ritenour people and associates, people like associated with David Foster, Bill Champlin. You know what I'm getting at. Now I'm hearing some banjo. Yeah, a bit of bluegrass banjo playing. In the prior times I've listened to this song, I hadn't quite noticed those touches. That he's really giving some musical reference points to add weight, to the lyrical theme. Just look over from the good side. And I think of some great songs that have been about cowboys, or been about that have dealt with Old West themes, but didn't have any musical traces to match the theme. Like I'm thinking of some of the songs off of And Then There Were Three, the first album that Genesis did as a trio. There's a couple of songs on there. There's The Battle of Big, and there's Deep in the Mother Lode, colloquially known as Go West Young Man. Both deal that get into like Old West lyrical themes, but don't have any trace of country influence in the music whatsoever. Even though George Starlston once comically referred to the album as a country western album with Banks synths. Yeah. And I gotta say, I love it when pop tunesmiths add like a little motif or a little flavor, an instrument or a sound that's in some key moment of a song, to lend musical weight to the lyrical theme. Like certain pop songs, when they make a reference to the Orient, they'll throw in some Oriental sound somewhere, like an Asian sound. Like on Turning Japanese at the beginning, there's that sound, like from right out of like Japanese folk music, that or like in Stephen Bishop, The Big House, like that part of the song where he goes, "Cellmate Rudy came from Japan," and there's like that that little sound, that percussion, that tune percussion sound that's unique to that region. Just look over from the good side. Devolving into chaos here. Just look over from the good side. Just look out, just look out, just look over from the good, just look out. I don't recall that song coming to such a quirky conclusion. I just always kind of noticed that hook, and would sometimes, and like 5 years ago I went through a phase where I was like queuing this song up a lot when I was getting dressed or getting ready to go out. It was just kind of a pep tune for me, a catchy pep tune, and I so hearing it, playing it right here, I noticed some nuances that I hadn't quite caught in the past, and interesting lyrics, interesting subject. The Old West fascinated a lot of people who grew up in the Old West was really kept alive during like the mid 20th century when Sembello would have been growing up, and like there were lots of westerns on TV back in the 60s, and I'm not sure it's as popular today. It was kind of going out of style when I was growing up, when I was like a teenager, but there was still a lot of it about compared to what I'm aware of in pop culture these days. But yeah, Michael Sembello, the track Cowboy from his album Bossa Nova Hotel, which also includes Maniac, which actually was not written for Flashdance. And because of that, it was written for this album. This came out as an album proper, and then Maniac was heard by the film makers, and they asked to have it included in the movie, and it became integral. It just became a huge hit tied to the cultural impact of the movie. And it was nominated for a Grammy, and then it was the nomination was revoked because the song had not actually been written for the soundtrack or for the movie. It was originally written just as an album track for Michael Sembello for his release Bossa Nova Hotel, and I guess that decision really irked the artist. He didn't agree with that choice. That just because it wasn't initially conceived for the film Flashdance, that it didn't deserve to be honored to qualify for a Grammy for best soundtrack song. And he had a lengthy studio career going back. Let's see, according to Discogs, he's got 620 credits. I don't know how many of those are distinct, though. He's got like 433 appearances, they say. There's all these different categories. But if I click on instruments and performances, I come up with 133, I guess, distinct releases going back to 1974, when he was 20 and played on 'Cause We've Ended His Lover. He played on Cyrita's take on 'Cause We've Ended His Lovers on the Stevie Wonder Presents Cyrita album, her second. And from there, played on Fulfilling This First Finale, played on Perfect Angel by Minnie Riperton, played on Songs in the Key of Life, played on, yeah, I'm familiar with his credit on there. Yeah, Saturn he plays on. Albums by Harvey Mason, Lalomi Washburn, George Duke. Great list of acts from the 70s. Stephen Bishop, Michael White, Benny Maupin, Flora Purim. Yeah, he plays with a lot of really classy, quality musical acts during this time period. Shaka Khan, going into like the 80s here. Greg Phillinganes, and who also was quite a presence on Songs in the Key of Life. Kamiko Kasai, yeah, the Japanese jazz singer. Yeah. And Donna Summer's wonderful self-titled album from 1982, one of her best. Yeah. Anyway, for more Rubies and Sapphires by American West Coast AOR musicians and Blue-Eyed Soul acts, and see the directory of albums linked in the description below. And like and subscribe, and follow me on social media to know when the next video comes out. Every few days I post a West Coast AOR track in this vein, among many different areas of music that I cover. And until then, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.